G'day guys. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Anbernic RG35XX-SP. I paid $79 Australian delivered, including GST, from the official AliExpress store during the last sale, but they usually go for around $130 Australian delivered on eBay. Let's open it up and see what we get in the box. The first thing we see is a little thank you card, which is a nice personal touch. On the other side it does say Anbernic. I quite like that. You can unfold it. Opening it up, it does just say thank you for purchasing the device, and if you have any issues, to contact them. Next we have the handheld itself, which we will put aside for now. And inside the box we have lens cleaner, as well as our screen protector and a small manual. And there should also be a little charger USB-C cable in this box. And there is a little USB-C to USB-A cable for charging. There is a small piece of foam on top of the handheld, I guess to stop it from getting scratched or for padding. And here it is here. I did go for the transparent red model since it was the cheapest one available, and also I do like the transparent red color. The RG35XXSP features a 3.5-inch 640 by 480 IPS display, a H700 ARM quad-core CPU, 1 gig of LP DDR4 RAM, built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, as well as a vibration motor which should be compatible with certain RetroArch cores. It also has HDMI out. Taking a look around the device, there's not too much on the top. I have seen some people take the case apart and pop their own image inside to personalize it. On the top we have our L1, L2, R1, R2 buttons, as well as our USB-C port and our mini HDMI port. On the right hand side we have our power and reset buttons, as well as our status LEDs. On the left hand side we have our volume up and down buttons. On the front we have our headphone socket, as well as our 2 SD card slots. Mine only came with a single 64 gig SD card, which holds the OS and the games. On the back is our battery compartment. Removing the single screw should give us access to the battery. And it does. Lifting up the battery, we can see it does just sit on the CPU itself. So if that gets hot, it could cause issues with our little lithium pouch. Hopefully that doesn't happen. I believe some of these units do ship with a small plastic card resting in here, just to give it a bit more separation. But that is something to keep in mind. Opening the lid, we can see our nice 3.5-inch display, as well as our D-pad, A, B, X and Y, start and select, and our menu button. On the right, we do have an official GBA SP, so we can see the size difference. They're very similar in size. The Anbernic is quite a lot thicker and heavier though. The CPU in this is slightly more powerful than the R36S's RK3326, so I am expecting slightly better performance. Before we power it on, we'll take the SD card out and pop it in our PC and see how easy it is to copy ROMs over. We're over on our Windows 10 computer now. I'm just going to pop the SD card in my USB SD reader and we'll plug it into our computer. We do get a 44 gig partition pop-up. Just D drive, has about 13 gig free, and there's quite a lot of folders on here. ebook, emu, exe, too sure what that is, Pico 8 I guess. Music folder, it does have Hotel California included, which is interesting. PDF, empty, saves, video folder, which does have a video on there. We'll take a look at that on our handheld. BIOS, I guess this is where you put your BIOS files for the systems. Anbernic, just bezels and HDMI bezels. Config folder for PPSSPP. And of course our ROMs folder. And here are all our systems. We'll go into one NDS. And there are all of our NDS ROMs. So thankfully it's super easy to get ROMs onto the SD card on a Windows PC. Some of the custom OSs do use a Linux file system, which doesn't play well with Windows, but thankfully this is not the case with the StockOS. Taking a look in disk management, we can see there are quite a lot of partitions on our SD card. The big 44 gig FAT32 partition at the start is obviously our main ROMs partition, and I'm guessing the other partitions contain the operating system. We won't touch any of that. We'll close out of this, safely eject the SD card, and pop it back into our handheld. The hinge on this doesn't feel too bad. It does open and close with ease, which is good. I have seen quite a few photos of broken hinges on these devices online, similar to the Miu Flip, so hopefully that doesn't happen to me, but it doesn't feel like there's a lot of stress when opening and closing it, which is a good sign. I'm not going to be very rough with it, but if it does break on me, I'll definitely post an update with the photos. It took about 30 seconds for a cold boot, which is not the best, but I believe this does have a sleep mode. If I close the screen, it should go to sleep, And we can see the light is still on. I'll open the screen back up, and it does turn back on. I'm not sure if it actually turned off, but on the Anbernic website, it does mention it goes to sleep and wakes up just from closing the lid. I'll close it now. We'll very gently lift it up. There we go. So the screen does turn off at least. Not too sure what the battery life is like on that. So we'll take a look around. You've got games rooms, RA game, app center, favorites, history, search, settings. We'll take a look at the settings first. System information. We're on version 1.1 of the firmware from 2024 December, it looks like. Tells us about our SD card, battery voltage, the model, kernel version, available RAM, CPU cores, frequency, and that's it. The screen timeout, which is set to 1 minute by default, the backlight brightness, and I/O test. So everything works good. It says menu plus select to test the motor. And it is vibrating, which is good. And start and select to exit. Date and time settings. The time is actually correct, which is interesting. Could be a coincidence. Language setting, RA settings, we'll leave that. Network settings for Wi-Fi. I am already connected. Icon settings. Background settings. Button sounds. Button customs, not sure what that is. Clearing record. Oh, the history. Standby mode. Reboot and shutdown. We'll take a look at game rooms. So here's all of our systems, it looks like. But if we go to RA game, there is a complete list of everything, including ports. App Center. Okay, so music, video, ebook, file manager, expert mode, not sure what that is. Apps. Looks like just a bunch of settings. We'll leave all that. PDF viewer, Willy Willy, which I believe is an online streaming service. Trying to run it does just close back off to the main menu though. So it does have Hotel California. I obviously can't play it because of copyright, but it does work. Video player. There was a video on the SD card. Here it is here, the RG35XXSP.mp4. Let's see what that is. So it is just a promo video. That is pretty cool. I'm glad they included a test video, just so you can see it working. Menu, close the app. Ebook reader, there were no ebooks. File manager, that's just a file manager, nothing too special here. Close out of that. And there were no PDFs. Let's try out a few games and see how well they run. We'll start with PSP. There's only a handful of games included, but since it is only a 64GB SD card, they obviously couldn't put that many on. These PSP games are quite large. We'll try Mega Man Maverick Hunter X. So PSP does seem to run fine. You do still have the very slight lag spikes, similar to the R36S. But Maverick Hunter X, at least, does run pretty much identical as the R36S. Pressing the menu button should bring up the PPSSP settings, as it does. And we'll just go exit to menu. We'll try some PS1. We'll do Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. Hopefully we can try Crash 1. This is a weird custom menu. We'll just go Crash Bandicoot 1. And no surprises here, PS1 does run pretty much flawlessly. It also looks really, really nice on this IPS screen. Pressing menu brings up the RetroArch menu. And from here, we can quit. Next, we'll try NDS. There's not many NDS games on here either. That is a bit disappointing since these aren't that big. I was hoping for a bit more. Obviously, it is really easy to copy your own. We'll try Ridge Racer DS. Now, pressing L2 does toggle between the two screen layouts, and pressing R2 does go full screen, which is great. I'm not too sure how to control the on-screen stylus. On the R36S and other handhelds with joysticks, usually use the right joystick to move it, but obviously this doesn't have a joystick, and I have tried a few different button combinations, but I can't seem to make it reappear on screen. Pressing the menu button obviously brings up the drastic menu. Very, very tiny text, as you can probably see on the screen. And let's go down to exit. It should be possible to remap the key that moves the stylus around, maybe even a hotkey, but out of the box, I wasn't able to find the default key to do it. Luckily, most games don't actually need the stylus, and you can control it with the buttons, but there are a few that do need it, so just keep that in mind. We'll try some N64 next. We'll do gex64. Now again, there's not many buttons on this handheld, so it would be interesting to see if we have enough buttons to play these games. Obviously, you could remap the D-pad to the joystick or vice versa, depending on the game. You do also have L2 and R2, which could be used for extra buttons, but there is also the C buttons that you would need to map. I'm not too sure how to do the flying jump kick. It has been a while since I played this game. We may need to remap some buttons. Oh, there we go. As far as performance goes, this seems fine, but obviously some 64 games just aren't going to run at all, or aren't going to run very well. That is just to be expected with Nintendo 64. We'll try some Dreamcast. Again, not too many games included. House of the Dead's always a fun one, so we'll try that. This is running full speed, no lag, which is good. No stutters either. Again, I'm guessing some of the higher end, more demanding games might not run very well, but House of the Dead 2 definitely runs perfectly. We won't try any of the lower end systems, because obviously they'll run perfectly. NES, Game Boy, Game Boy Advanced, all that kind of stuff. We will take a look at ports though. We'll try Quake, which is always a classic. Unfortunately there was no Doom. We'll do Quake. Can still strafe, which is good. It is a very dark game. Not too sure if you can see it very well on the screen. But in person it is quite dark as well. You can obviously go to settings, which is quite small. You can turn the gamma right up. It's a lot brighter now. But you do lose a lot of the ambience, the atmosphere. So Quake 1 works perfectly, no surprises here. As mentioned, this does have built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. You can access both of them through the settings menu, then going down to network settings. And you've got hotspot, so you can create a wireless hotspot by itself if you don't have an existing connection to connect to. Bluetooth settings. Unfortunately, Bluetooth only works for gamepads. It does not work for headphones, at least on StockOS. I believe some of the custom OSs do have Bluetooth audio abilities, so we'll definitely check that out. But at least on the StockOS, you cannot pair headphones to it, only gamepads. And mice, actually. It does have Moonlight game stream built in, so you can stream games from a computer, which is very, very cool. On the R36S, you could do it, but you had to use an external wireless adapter and also install Moonlight through Portmaster. But it is good to have it built in. And Wi-Fi settings, obviously, is just your Wi-Fi. I think now we'll try and plug it into my TV and take a look at the TV out capabilities. We've just got our little test TV set up. And as mentioned, it is mini HDMI, the same as you would find on a Raspberry Pi Zero. So you do need an adapter, just using this cheap passive adapter here, mini to full sized. Click it in, and we'll just connect our regular HDMI cable to it, nothing fancy. You can see it is sticking out quite a bit. And we'll lift the lid. And it should automatically change over. It has. You'll see the built-in screen has turned off. It does turn off when you connect the HDMI, and it turns back on when you disconnect it automatically. So unfortunately, you can't use both at the same time. Doesn't seem to be any lag, which is good. We'll try load up a low-end game and see how well it runs. This is Doom for the SNES. You can see it does have nice bezels just around the side of the screen. That's a nice touch. And there doesn't seem to be any input delay, which is good. This game is quite slow and laggy anyway. But yeah, this is definitely an option if you wanted to play it on the TV. I'm not too sure how useful that would be with a built-in gamepad, but again, it does have Bluetooth. You could connect a Bluetooth gamepad to it and use it as sort of a console. We'll see what happens when we unplug it while it's on. So you can see it is still playing Doom. I'll unplug the HDMI. Whoops, I pressed start. So the TV turns off straight away, obviously. And does the screen come back on? Doesn't look like it. Plug the HDMI back in and see if it auto goes back. And still nothing. It looks like we might have crashed it. So I'll unplug the HDMI. We'll try close the screen. And we'll reopen it, see if that refreshes it. You can see the power light is still on. Pressing the menu button does nothing. Start and select twice maybe. So it has seemed to lock up. Bit unfortunate. We'll press the reset button. See the power light went off. Come back on. So yeah, it is resetting now. Unfortunately, if you are using HDMI out, don't yank the cable out. It does seem to crash it, at least on my unit. Overall, it is a very fun little device. The built-in Wi-Fi is awesome. The TV out could be handy to have. The Bluetooth could also come in handy, especially with TV out, but it is a bit unfortunate that there is no Bluetooth audio, at least on StockOS. I did notice it was lacking a lot of the more popular games, such as Donkey Kong Country, any of the Marios for the Nintendo DS, and also some of the more popular Nintendo 64 games like Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask. Obviously, it's super easy to copy your own ROMs to it, as we've shown, but for the people that just want to buy it without tinkering at all with it, that might be a bit of a letdown. The device itself feels really well built. It's got some nice weight to it, feels really good in the hands, very comfortable to play. I am a bit worried about the hinge cracking. As mentioned, there are a lot of photos online of broken hinges on these, so fingers crossed it doesn't happen to me. It seems more common on these transparent devices. Apparently it's a more brittle plastic, but again, these are just things I've read online and never had any personal experience with. I was expecting the H700 to be a little bit more powerful than RK3326 that's in the R36S. On paper, it is more powerful, but real-world performance, it seems about the same. I'll definitely be trying out some custom firmwares for this in the future, and if there's anything you want to see specifically on it, definitely let me know in the comments and I'll try to include it in the future videos on it. I think that'll do it for today. If you have any questions or comments, let me know down below. Otherwise, thanks for watching.